Chapter 13 Good Progress. Far into the night, while the other creatures slept, Charlotte worked on a web. First, she ripped out of the few of the orb lines near and center. She left the raddled line alone, as they were nailed for a support. As she worked, her 8 legs were a great help to her. So were her teeth. She loved to weave, and she was an expert. When she was finished ripping things out, her web looked something like this. A spider can produce survival kinds of thread. She used a dry cloth thread with a foundation lines, and she used a sticky thread for near lines, the one that catch holding insects. Shelley decided to use her dry thread for writing a new message. If I write the word terrific in sticky thread, she thought, every box that come along with all the stuff did and spoil the effect. Now let's see, the first letter is T. Shelley climbed on the top point and top of the left hand side on a web, swinging her spinneret and spoon. She attached her thread for a drop down. As she dropped, her spinning tubes were in action. She let out the thread. At the bottom, she attached the thread. This formed upright part is letter T. Charlotte was not satisfied. However, she climbed up and made another attachment right next to the first. Then she carried the line down so that she can double lines instead of the single line. It will show up better than I make a whole thing in double lines. She climbed back up, moving around about the edge to the left. Touched her spinneret to the web, and then carried line across the right, forming the top of T. She repeated this, making it double. Her 8 legs were very busy helping. Now for E. Charlotte got interested for her work. She began to talk to herself, as though to cheer herself on. If you had been sitting quietly in the barn cellar an evening, you would heard something like this. Now for an R. Up we go. Attach. Descent. Pay it line. Wow. Attach. Good. Up you go. Repeat. Attach. Descent. Pay it line. Wow, girl. Stay now. Attach. Climb. Attach. Over to the line. Pay up line. Attach. Now right and down and swing it down the loop and around and around. Now it's for a left. Attach. Climb. Repeat. Okay, easy. Keep those lines together. Now then, out of the down and the leg, out of the R. Paid line. Wow. Attach. Ascent. Repeat. Good girl. And so, talking to herself, the spider worked at her difficult task. When it was completed, she felt hungry. She ate a small bug that she had been saving. Then she slept. Next morning, Wilbur arose. Stood beneath the web. He breathed a morning air into his lunch, dropped a few, catching sun, made the web stand out clearly. Then Lurvy arrived at breakfast. There was a handsome pig, and over him there was nearly of the block ladders. The word is terrific. Another miracle. Lurvy called Mr. Zuckerman. Mr. Zuckerman rushed to call Mrs. Zuckerman. Mrs. Zuckerman ran into the phone and said, Arrows. The arrows came into a truck and hurried over. Everybody stood the pigpen, stared at the web and read at the word over and over, while Wilbur, who was really felt terrific, stood quietly swelling under his chest and swinging his snout from side to side. Terrific, breathed Circleman, who in joyful admiration. It is U.S. Battlefront and reporter on the Weekly Chronicle and tell them to get happened. He will want to know about this. He made to bring a photographer. There isn't a pig. His whole state that a terrific is out of pig. The news spread. People had just joined to General Reed to see Wilbur. Then he was some pig had better back again to him now, and he was terrific. That afternoon, while Mr. Zuckerman went to milk the cow and cleaned out the tie-ups, he was still thinking about a wondered piece his own. Lurvy, he said, there is no more cow's manure thrown down into a pig pen. I am a terrific pig, and I want the pig have clean, bright straw even day, and he spit badly. Understand? Yes, sir, said Lurvy. Furthermore, said Mr. Zuckerman, I want you to start building a crate for Wilbur. I had decided I'll take the pig in County Fair of September 6th. Make a crate large and a paint of green and gold letters. What will the letters say? Asked Lurvy. That says Mrs. Zuckerman's famous pig. Lurvy picked it up and a pitchfork and was working away into a clean straw. Having an important pig was going to mean and plenty of extra work. He could see that. Below an apple orchard, the end of the path, was a dump where Mr. Zuckerman was all full of trash and stuff nobody wanted anymore. Here a small cleaning heightened by young alders and wild raspberry bushes. It is why an astonishing pile of old bottles and empty tin cans and dirty rings and bits of material and broken bottles and broken hinds and broken springs and that batteries, the last month's magazines and old discarded dish mops and tattered overalls and rusty spikes and leak pails and forgotten stoppers and useless junk of all the kinds, including a wrong-size crank for a broken ice cream freezer. Templeton knew the dump like this. There were a good holding place there, excellent cover for a rat, and there was usually a thin can with a foot still clinging into the side. Templeton was down there now, rummaging around. He was returned to the barn. He carried in his mouse and advertisements, and he had turned for a crumpled magazines. How's this? He asked, shouting at Charlotte. It says crunchy. Crunchy will be a good word to write in your web. Just the wrong idea, replied Charlotte. Couldn't be worse. We don't want Zuckerman to think Wilbur is crunchy. It might start thinking him about a crisps, French bacon, and taste ham. But it put ideas in his head. We must advantage Wilbur a new qualities, not tastiness. Go get another word, please, Templeton. The rat looked disgusted, but he sneaks away into the dump and banged a while at the strip of cotton cloth. What's this? He asked. It's a lever off an old shirt. Charlotte examined the lever. It said pre-shrunk. I'm sorry, Templeton, she said, but pre-shrunk is out of the question. We want Circman to think Wilbur's is nicely filled out, not shrunk up. I'll have to ask you, try again. What do you think I am, a manager boy? Grumbled the rat. I'm going to spend all my time cashing down into a dump after inventing the material. Just one more, please, she shouted. I'll tell you what I'll do, said Templeton. I know we're packing a salt flakes in the wooden, and that's right. I'll bring you a piece of pig edge. He climbed into the rope and hung that rope, and he disappeared straw into a hole ceiling. Then he came back up the trip, a bubble and white cardboard in his teeth. There, he said triumphantly. How's that? Charlotte read the words. With new radiant actions. What does it mean? Asked Charlotte, who has never used a snowflakes in her life. How should I know? Said Templeton. You asked me words and I brought them. I suppose the next thing you will want to fetch a dictionary. Together they stood and so add. With new radiant action, repeated Charlotte slowly. Wilbur, she called. Wilbur, who was asleep in a straw, jumped up. Run around, commanded Charlotte. I wanted to use the action to see you're radiant. Wilbur ran into the end of the yard. Now, back again faster, said Charlotte. Wilbur gloved back. His skin shone. His tail had fine, tied up crawled on it. Jump into the air, cried Charlotte. Wilbur jumped high as he could. Keep your knees straight and talk down with your ears, called Charlotte. Wilbur upped. Do you back flip and half twisted, cried Charlotte. Wilbur back backwards, writing and twisting in his wind. Okay, Wilbur, said Charlotte. You go back to sleep. Okay, Templeton, the self will do. I guess. I'm not sure Wilbur's action is exactly radiant, but it's interesting. Actually, said Wilbur, I felt radiant. Do you? Said Charlotte, looking at him with an affection. Well, you are a good little pig, and radiant you shall be. I'm as these things pretty deep now. I might as well as the limit. Tired from his romp, Wilbur lay back down into the clean straw. He closed his eyes. The straw seemed scratchy, not for comfortable and common manure, which was always delightful, soft, and lie in. So he pushed the straw in outside one side and stretched it out of the manure. Wilbur sighed. It was a busy day in his life of being terrific. Dozens of people were visiting yards and during the afternoon, when he had to stand and pause, looking terrific as he could. Now he was tired. For another ride, seated herself quietly on her stool in the corner. Tell me a story, Charlotte, said Wilbur, as he lay writing in the common. Tell me a story. So Charlotte although she too was tired and not Wilbur wanted. Once upon a time, she began, I had a beautiful cousins who managing a builder web across a small stream. One day, a tiny fish leaped into the air and got tangled in a web. My cousins was very much surprised. Of course, the fish was thrashing wildly. My cousins hardly dare tackled it, but she did. She swooped down into a great mess of wrapping material around into a fish and fought briefly and captured it. Did she succeed? Asked Wilbur. It's never to be forgotten the battle, said Charlotte. There was a fish caught up by one fin, the tail wheeled, thrashing and shining in the sun. There was a web swinging dangerously under the weight of fish. How much did a fish weigh? Asked Wilbur. I don't know, said Charlotte. There was my cousins slipping in, dodging out, breathing mercilessly over and head of the woodly thrashing fish, dancing in, dancing out, drawing her threads and fighting hard. First, she drew a left around the tail. Fish laid back. If the left tail was right in the midsection, the fish lays back. Then she dodged to one side and drew a right, and another fight of the fin. There was hardly left in hand, while the fish swayed and fetched. Now that happened? Now what happened? Asked Wilbur. Nothing, said Charlotte. The fish lost the fight. My cousin wrapped up in tight and couldn't budge. Then what happened? Asked Wilbur. Nothing, said Charlotte. My cousin kept the fish for a while, and then she got up good and ready. She ate it. Tell me another story, begged Wilbur. So Charlotte told him about another cousin to hers who was an aeronaut. What's an aeronaut? Asked Wilbur. A balloonist, said Charlotte. My cousin used to stand to her head and to let enough drag for a balloon. Then she let go and lifted into the air and carried that worm into the warm mind. Is that true? Asked Wilbur. Or are you just making it up? It's true, replied Fern. I've got some very remarkable cousins. And now, Wilbur, it's time you wanted to sleep. Sing something, begged Wilbur. Close his eyes. So Charlotte sang lullably, while crickets chirped and the grass in the barn grew dark. And as the song she sang, sleep, sleep, my love, my only, deep, deep in the dark of the dark. But be not afraid, be not lonely. This is hour the frog's thrushes. Praise the word from the wood of the rushes. Rest for care, my one and only. Deep in the dark. But Wilbur was already asleep. When the song ended, Fern got up and went home.